Hello, good morning, everybody. I am here early this morning to do morning minutes with you guys because I have my appointment today. So just a brief update until I actually get the real update. So, as everybody, I told you guys like the last couple of weeks that I've been dealing with this kidney stone, and they so it takes a while if it's not if the kidney stone isn't a certain measurement, they will not do the procedure to get rid of it right away, right? So, what they do is they give you this medication to try to help it to pass, and then you have to take that medication for 30 whole days. You get some imaging in between that time to see if it passed. You're also supposed to like strain your urine in order to try to see if you see it too. But they give you this medication to try to help it pass. They give you some antibiotics to try to make sure you're not getting an infection and give you stuff for the nausea and all of that kind of stuff. Just basically stuff to try to keep you comfortable. And they'll give you some pain medication. They'll give you a lighter one and then a stronger one just in case. And they let that go for about 30 days. And then if it does not pass, then they will do the procedure. Now, if the measurements are over a certain diameter, then they will immediately take you to have the procedure done because I think they kind of know like it's not going to pass on its own, but my stone is kind of like on the borderline. So unfortunately, I had to go through this whole process. So today is my last imaging appointment. And then after that, I will go upstairs to go see my urologist. And we will determine what happens next. So hopefully, I am hoping, but I'm a little pessimistic about it. But I'm hoping that the kidney stone is gone, you guys. Um, and that I don't have to deal with this at all. But I have a feeling that it's not because of some discomfort I've been still having. So I'm pretty sure I'm probably could have to be scheduled to have the procedure done. And then that requires me to do all of this stuff like with cardiology because I have VTAC. It's short for ventricular tachycardia. And so because of that, I have to have this all of this stuff done before I'm administered anesthesia. So even though they'll only be giving me a twilight, I still got to get this stuff done, which means that if today, if it's not gone, and then I have to have the procedure done tomorrow, I'm gonna probably have to go have a series of tests done. I'm probably gonna have to get a Holter monitor on, have that on over the weekend in order to try to make sure that I'm okay and clear to have the surgery on Monday. I mean, on next week, sometime next week. So, well, not the surgery, but the procedure. So, I'm hoping, like I said, when I go in there, that it's gone. But it's just the discomfort I'm having. I don't think it's gone. I think it's still there. So, but I'll find out. My appointment is at 10:40. So that's why I came and decided to come talk to you guys early this morning because I wanted to get these things off of my mind while they are there. And today seems like it's going to be a pretty busy, eventful day with all of the different topics I've been discussing. So, I wanted to get this off so that then I can pay more attention to the other things going on. I have been monitoring what's going on with the Julio Fulio trial. I listened to opening statements yesterday, but I did not get to the testimony portion because of all the other things and all of the other distractions. And then the stuff with this Celeste case is really like taking over a lot of my time while I'm working and listening to content. So I did not get to listen to the testimony. So I'm going to go back. But I am going to try to today, while I'm on my way in at the doctor's office, listen to the testimony from where it starts today. And then I will go back in order to try to pick up the other pieces of testimony from that trial. So I'm not going to give any update on that. I'm not going to give any update on Ashley Janae just yet because, like I said, there are some things that I'm kind of waiting to for until I give any commentary or give my opinion on that. So I'm gonna freeze on that like for a second too. But I am going to discuss it. I just am freezing on it until I'm able to really dive into it the way that I want to in order for me to see what angle my point of view, my perception, right? Right now, I'm just been taking in the information. But I am going to do a live about the Ashley Janae situation. She was the woman who went to Zanzibar and had was unalived. We don't know. It was said that it was made it to or staged to look like she did something to herself, but we don't know. And she has this fiance that happens to be this older white man, wealthy, and it looks suspicious. It looks suspicious based on a series of events that happened. And so a lot of people are thinking that it looks suspicious. And I just want to wait for a little bit more things and for me to really be able to look at it before I give my thoughts on it. So those things are things that are in my purview. Okay. So the first thing that is on my morning minutes for this morning, y'all. So we all know that I've been in a lot of sectors, right? But I started communicating on YouTube actively through the R. Kelly sector, right? And so there is a content creator over here, Sheena Speaks. She came now I didn't first come across her in the R. Kelly sector. I first came across her looking at Summer Wells, the Summer Wells case. Summer Wells was a little girl who went missing. It was during COVID. She went missing. It was some suspicion behind all of that. She's never been found, right? And so I first encountered Sheena through that content. And then I came to realize, hey, she got some R. Kelly thing going on over here too, right? So listen, you guys, when it comes to me, I don't dislike anybody. That's just my nature. That's who I am in real life. Like if people were to like really look on my social media and look at the things that people say about me and talk to my relatives and stuff like that, I am a person, I get along with everybody. I don't dislike anybody. I know how to compartmentalize though, right? I know how to compartmentalize well. And so there are some people that I really like because I just really like them. Like I think genuinely I like them as a person. And then there are some people that I guess compartmentalize as characters, right? And just briefly to explain what I mean by that. So there are some people that I just think are characters, and I might be fond of their character. The character that they play, right? The one that they demonstrate to us, the one they present to us. And that's whether the character is good or bad. Because I think like when we all read a story, some of us, when we read the story, can make a connection with a bad character. We can look at something because character development happens when we're reading stories. That is how we're able to create that connection. Good morning, Tiz. How are you, boo? um that is how we are able to create that connection because we are able to know the background story, and sometimes there's something from the character's background story that will make us have some empathy, sympathy, or some understanding of the character. And so in my life I compartmentalize people that way. Like I said, there are some people I just really like, and then there are some people I just look at as characters, and I think that's how I keep myself from like really disliking people. I really think that's my own formula because, and I grew up watching soap operas like with my grandmother, right? And I know things from the soap operas from when I was as young as 5 years old. And sometimes when I'm talking to my grandma or her sisters or other older ladies who watch soap operas, they are shocked at the things I remember from the soap opera. But that is actually how I look at people in real life. For there are people, like I said, there are some people through me understanding their character that I genuinely like. And then there are some people that I like because it's something about their character, the presentation of their character that they present, right? And like I said, I think that's how I keep myself in the space where I genuinely just don't dislike people, right? A person can get on my nerves, they can make me sick, by an action that they do, a behavior that they display, but it does not really take over my overall perception of them because I understand it's a bigger story. It's a bigger story behind that behavior, behind that character, behind that presentation, right? You said Gina is definitely a character. She is. And so, like I said, my coming to know of Sheena had to do from the Summer Well stuff. So when I came over here and saw she was over here, because I always follow R. Kelly content. It was just when I initially started following it, I followed it from the beginning. As soon as Surviving R. Kelly came out, I started following R. Kelly content on social media. But I was not looking for certain things. I was looking for the content of the story and not the characters surrounding the story. I looked at a lot of these people like they were playing roles for content. And so I kind of sometimes zoned out on that part in order for me to pay attention and focus on the details of the real story in the middle of all of that, right? So, like I said, I realized that she had some R. Kelly drama and content, and so I listen to what everyone has to say, right? And then I just make my own assessments and I move on from there because it's of no real true life consequence to me, right? But the reason that I'm bringing her up is because so I have been following some stories in some sectors I follow for the content that's in the sector, and then some sectors I follow because of the drama in the sector, right? And Atlanta Street Interviews is one that I have followed for the drama in the sector, right? So I did not pay as much attention to the content and each individual homeless person that was interviewed, but it was the drama in the sector that I paid attention to, right? And so I just watch it and, kind of keep up, and I chuckle at the parts I need to chuckle at. I shake my head at the things I need to shake my head at. I say this don't make no sense to the things that don't make sense. And then some of the stuff I look at and I'm like, this is a crime, right? This is a crime and this is something bad waiting to happen, right? And so I guess Marcus, who is the interviewer, he interviews. So for those who are not familiar with that sector, it's called Atlanta Street Interviews, and Marcus goes out. This guy Marcus, he's the interviewer, and he goes out and he interviews homeless people. He talks to them about their life experience, their situations, their plans to try to get out of the situation, or why they're planning to stay in the situation. He, I when he first I would watch a few of his interviews. I never got really acquainted with the interviewees that well. But I would watch a few of his interviews, and when it first started, it seemed like, that's what he was doing. I wasn't even sure if he was really like helping these people for real. I just knew that he was interviewing them, and I just thought that this was his content. Well, as I started, I think when I really realized like that there was some more communication and interacting with him and these interviewees is when the whole situation I think came to be with him and Silent Sunny. So Silent Sunny is the one in the story. She is an amputee. I don't think she was ever homeless. Somehow Marcus, the interviewer from Atlanta Street Interviews, gets hooked up with her. He's having this relationship with her, and then it sets that sector in a blaze because there are people. It was a controversial relationship, right? It was controversy over what was going on. And so then I think that's when that sector really skyrocketed into the content creator drama, right? Or at least from my perspective, from what I saw. Because before, all I saw was him doing these interviews. I did not know that it was all of this drama surrounding what he was doing. I didn't see the drama start until Silent Sunny entered the picture, and then all of these people had these opinions about his relationship with her and how that relationship deteriorated, and people were constantly doing content on it. And then to me, it seemed like then that's when Marcus started to have more personal interactions with the interviewees, right? And so, like I said, there were lots of interviewees that was before Solid Sunny, after Solid Sunny, but all of them became part of this street sector content, right? Along with the content creators in the sector. And so somehow, I don't know how, I guess it was happening all along and people just didn't know, it wasn't on anybody's radar, right? But Marcus must have been having some intimate relations with some of these interviewees, right? And I don't think initially it was publicized. How often? I think it was some speculations. I think it was some rumors. Some of the content in the creators in the sector were trying to downplay it because they was like, it's really nobody's business, which I guess so. It really wasn't until it has festered to what it has now, right? So, and it was like causing all of this drama because some of the people were really pissed off with Marcus because they felt like he's exploiting these homeless people. And then you had another group of people because they wanted to keep driving the content, and which is still they doing now. They kind of tried to make excuses for Marcus, justifications, trying to pacify people with the situation so they wouldn't be so outraged at what they were saying of what they were calling exploitation, right? And so this went on for a while. It caused a whole lot of sector drama. It caused a whole lot of just crazy stuff happening. Well, now Marcus's content has taken another twist and turn. And from what I understand, I have not seen it, but it is causing a disturbance within that street sector. Because apparently Marcus, I don't know if he's going on a Patreon or OnlyFans or wherever he's taking this to, but he's been taking these homeless people and it's doing intimate stuff with them on the camera, right? And it is causing like the some of the sector over there, they feel like this is exploitation at its worst. And the other ones, like I said, it's making them money to talk about it. So they want the content to keep coming so that they could talk about it. And this is just my opinion from me observing from afar. They want to keep making money to keep talking about it. And so they don't want to call it out for what it is, right? So, there have been threats from various content creators, not just Sheena. There's been some other content creators over there who have said this is exploitation. This is taking advantage of the vulnerable. Exactly, says like it's. I don't know if it's on Patreon or OnlyFans. I don't know where he's doing this content, but he starts it out on YouTube, and now the way he does his interviews, he does it in a way where it's like an advertisement for this. I don't know if they call it spicy content. I think it's called spicy content, he calls it. For the spicy content that's on Patreon or OnlyFans, right? And I'm talking about these, according to what the sector people are saying, it is all the way down there. It is porn, right, that they are doing with these homeless people. And according to the reports from the sector people, who some of them have seen it, they are saying Marcus is involved in the porn. He's directing and involved in it, right? And so this shit is crazy as hell, y'all. So apparently, he's the only one though really getting paid for it. He's offering room and board to these homeless people to participate in this content. Like it's like he just like you see how all of these other creators on Twitch and stuff like that, where they say they have a content house and stuff. This is kind of like the setup. And then I don't know how they get money to be able to afford all of the other things they doing. They might be this might be part of an advertisement, because I think, and this is why I'm talking about this, y'all, because I think this is a crime that we are witnessing before our eyes. that we are about to see on the big screen at some point, because they are in Atlanta. They are in Atlanta, home of the Rico, right? And some of these content creators are not happy about how the content has turned, and some of the sector people are reporting him. They are reporting him. And it's making Marcus upset because it's interfering with what he's trying to do, and also um making his money, right? And so he's threatening to sue different people for different things that they are saying. Like one of the somebody called into one of the show, this guy named Troy, I think his show was Troy's World. They called into his show to say that they believe that one of the participants in this whole fiasco, that she might have an autoimmune disorder, a sexual transmitted autoimmune disorder. And if you know what I'm talking about. And so the channel holder didn't say this, but somebody called into the channel and said it. Marcus comes right out and they threatening to sue because, oh, it's defamation and you putting a bad light on his brand and blah 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 blah. Well, I really think that the reason why Marcus is getting so up in arms is because he is realizing that some of these people realize that what he's doing is illegal. I don't know why these deviants think that they are fooling everybody to try to normalize and make it look like that what they are doing is okay. But there are penal codes against what they are doing, right? And so the people who want to keep driving the content, who want this content to continue because they are able to build their content off of it, they keep using the excuse of, oh, these are adults. They are consenting. It's their business. If this is what Marcus want to do, let him do it. Blah, 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 right? And I'm sitting back and I'm looking like, no, it is not that quite that black and white. Because homeless people are part of a high vulnerable population. A vulnerable population that is heavily exploited when it comes to human trafficking, sex trafficking. He is setting himself up. And I honestly think that a lot of the content the creators that have been speaking out, trying to encourage him to stop this kind of content, I think they are trying to give him a warning to stop. Stop before it rises to the point where you are in this criminal situation. But a lot of times greed gets the best of people and they keep going with a bad idea. And I think this is one of those situations. And I think we are seeing right before our eyes a crime being committed. And I think we're going to see Marcus in Fulton County up against that team over there with Fonnie Willis. We're going to see him. It is going to be a Rico because everything that he is doing, all the stuff that he is doing, is behaviors that are associated with that. Like this shit is crazy. So I am kind of like addicted to trying to like I don't know what's going on with the interviewees. I don't even know their names right. You couldn't ask me nothing to keep nothing straight. Like I said, I have listened to some of the stories and all of that, but I did not pay much attention. But I am paying attention to the other things surrounding these interviews and the stuff that's being done. These people are they homeless, they in and out of jail, they got drug addictions. They didn't say Marcus then went down there and slept with a couple of them in the tent. And I mean, just all over the place. This shit is all over the place. So I just wanted to come and put that on your radar because I know sometimes, child, y'all like something messy like me. And that it's a mess. That over there is a hot mess right over there. So that takes me on to my next subject, right? So I just explained to y'all like how I compartmentalize people in my life and things and situations, right? And I told you there are some people that I just see as a character. And there are some characters that I really throughout time enjoy. I grew up in the age of black and white, right? So I love me a good old black and white. I still watch black and white, right? My kids hate it. Every time I try to get them to watch something black and white, they do not want to watch it, right? And my friends either. I got some of my friends be like, "Oh God, you putting that on there, right?" And there are some things that I watch like just repetitively. I can just put it on, and I'm just addicted to watching it. It's like comforting to me, right? So one of the like Little House on the Prairie, right? I love Little House on the Prairie, right? The Waltons is another thing that I love, and I love The Twilight Zone. I love Alfred Hitchcock Presents. But another show that I love outside of the Three Stooges in the era in the vein of comedy that's been in black and white is Lucille Ball. And this next person reminds me of her. And it is the reason I enjoy her no matter what she get into. I enjoy watching her because we can guarantee that her natural personality is going to do something mischievous and we are going to have a good laugh about it. And so this is none other than the infamous Sylvia, okay? So people have been acquainted with infamous Sylvia, over here in the R. Kelly sector. And then she took herself to YSL, all while being involved in Ernesto Williams. And infamous Sylvia has been all over the place. She's been on the Shade Burn, just all everywhere. And most of the time, when she's there is something comedic going on. Okay. And so now this is another sector where I don't quite understand what's going on. And listen, everybody knows I'm a true crime buff. So I'm most of the time listening for the true crime piece. But sometimes I think the content surrounding the crime story takes over the actual crime story itself. And in this situation, for me, this is the case. I know more about the backstory behind the content creators in the Ernesto Williams sector than I do about what Ernesto Williams actually did. And part of the reason why I probably don't even know what Ernesto Williams did is because he done been indicted I don't know how many times. He's been in jail. I think he's been in jail, not prison, in jail for about 4 years. And they keep indicting him. I think they just put another indictment like a few weeks, maybe over a month ago, right? And so Ernesto just got a lot going on. I lost track of his actual crimes and the crime story because of all the drama surrounding this sector. And I am providing part of this feedback because I think this should be helpful to those people to let them know, like, there's a lot of people that are looking at this like me. Like, we don't even know what's going on in the story because y'all got so much going on that we can't even figure out what's happening in the story. Right? So we stop paying attention to the real story because we are focused on what the drama y'all are creating surrounding the story, right? So Sylvia had this epiphany now, just like she did with R. Kelly. Now, I don't know at what point when she had the epiphany with R. Kelly, because when she talked about it on her channel, she says that she had the epiphany with R. Kelly when she went to the Chicago trial and she heard Rashonda Landfair's testimony. But to me, I don't know if I buy that because the actions and behaviors was not consistent with someone who had a change of heart at that time. And if so, then you was just keeping up a facade. And that make me look at it with a side eye too, right? But I know for a fact when she started reading the book, she made this declaration. She also made the declaration when she was having a conversation with Nyla, who is also another content creator in the Ernesto sector. She didn't get started with Ernesto content. She got started in women's sphere content, I think. But then she helped to develop. She was actually one of the original creators of the sector, Ernesto sector, with the Shirley Strawberry. So for those who don't know, Ernesto Williams is Shirley Strawberry's. I think I'm confused to whether they really divorced because I thought I saw one thing that said they got the divorce. Then I saw something else saying they hadn't been divorced yet. I don't know if that's because people were going back to revisit old calls and stuff, and if that's how that was a headline, I don't know. But I'm not even sure if they are divorced or not. But if they're not divorced, they need to be divorced. I don't know what's going on. So, Nyla, infamous Sylvia made a declaration on Nyla's husband Taz's channel saying that she no longer supports R. Kelly in the area of thinking he's innocent, right? And so she made that declaration. It caused a little bit of stir amongst the R. Kelly supporters. Not that much. They kind of kept it kind of low key, was kind of like throwing subliminals, really not trying to really come hard on it, right? Or at least that's my opinion. That's my observation. That's what I seen. Now I seen some of them do it. The same ones that are, the ones that are they are arch nemesis. Yes, they highlighted it. Like it was highlighted. But some of the other R. Kelly supporters who are a little bit more neutral amongst content creators, or who are trying to make it look like they don't have a vendetta against the other, they kind of like was kind of slow to speak on it, right? And they might have threw a subliminal shot here or there, or some of the people might have tried to get somebody else engaged to talk about it instead of them being the one to talk about it. That's my opinion. That's what I seen. Don't listen. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at your mama. That's how I feel about it. So now she's had a similar epiphany when it comes to Ernesto Williams. So like I told y'all, I do not know what the hell Ernesto is in jail for. I don't know what originally caused him to be stopped, what got him locked up. It's all kinds of crimes going on with this man. Something to do with rental properties and staying in this house and then nothing. You said, I don't know if they are divorced because he was already married. Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say, Miller. It's all types of stuff going on with this Ernesto case. It's bigamy, polygamy. I don't know. Is it just two potential wives or is it more? Because if it's two potential wives, that's bigamy. If it's more than two, it's polygamy, and that is a crime, right? I don't care what people looking at it thinking it's a crime. So I think he's charged with that. He's charged with those married crimes. He's charged with something that got to do with rental properties or some kind of investment properties or something going on. Fraud. He was frauding people, doing some kind of Ponzi or pyramid schemes. And then the thing that changed Sylvia's mind, you said now it's ancestry introduced. Yeah, okay, yes. The thing that supposedly changed infamous Sylvia's mind is the account of his daughter now, which is being entered in evidence. And I'm not sure exactly why. I think the reason it's being entered in evidence from what I'm taking is because it's a thing to like not release him on bail or something like that. I think not to give him any bail or something. I think so. I think because there is a situation, it's some kind of RICO going on in this crime, and I don't. It's some woman alleging that he sex trafficked her, and she details and gives explicit details about that sex trafficking account. And now this is what I can say that I did pay attention to in telling of the stories of that. I knew this, and I wasn't even following the case. I'm not even giving my opinions on the case, coming on here and giving my opinions, right? I knew that there were lots of consistent statements between Ernesto's daughter, who claimed that he raped her, and the lady who is also saying that he did these things to her. The behavior, it was a lot of consistent behaviors in the reporting when it was reported to authorities. And these are things, these two people did not know each other. At the time that they made the report, they didn't know anything about each other. And then they found some things in the vehicle that were consistent with both of those reports, right? I know that. And I have not been blogging on the case. I haven't been going in the courtroom. I haven't listened to every single call. But I know from you guys, hold on, you guys. Can you guys hear me? Um, I know from hopefully you guys can still hear me. Miller, let me know if you guys can still hear me. So I know that. And I, like I said, I haven't been doing anything in relation to the case. I don't know what's going on with his charges. It's all over the place. But I do know some things. And those things I just said are the things that I know, right? I also know that some of the content creators got mad at Infamous Sylvia because somehow she got a hold of some kind of footage. I don't know if the footage is of Ernesto's daughter having some kind of anxiety attack, panic attack or something, and she put it as content on her channel. And this was controversial amongst the content creators because they felt like it was exploitation, right? Apparently she put it on a high member tier, and she has her reasonings for why she put it on that tier. Everybody don't buy those reasons though. And so it created a whole, but I think that was part of the start of the rivalry. The rivalry probably started way before then, but I think that along with them going like to a barbershop or a hair salon or something, that really like initiated like the separation between the content creators being mad at her, the ones who believed that Ernesto committed all of these crimes. And then Sylvia changing her mind and saying, hey, wait a minute, I think he's innocent. Because from what I understand, she started off saying she thought he committed the crimes. And then she changed her mind to say that she felt like that he was innocent. And this is just my opinion. Don't get mad at me, get mad at your mama. But the reason why I think, because I watch Infamous Sylvia, I've been watching Infamous Sylvia. I told y'all she is one of my favorite characters. She is like Lucy or a ball, okay? She is like, I love Lucy, okay? To me, and I love it, okay? Lucy or Sylvia, I feel like she has this way of infusing herself into the content because that's the contribution she brings. She infuses herself into the content and makes herself part of the content, and that's how she generates numbers. I don't think she would generate those numbers without doing that. And so I think that's all part of what she does. And so when it came to the Ernesto case, I feel like that's exactly the same thing she did. She went along with the side that gave her the quote unquote exclusives, regardless of whether she agreed with them or not. Listen, I told y'all when I said to y'all characters, right? These are characters. Some of these people are characters, right? The reason I'm saying this is because I think this is part of the character that she is. Like, this is her way of content creation. And I don't think she starts off believing some of this shit that she says. And I think that she sometimes like will say she doesn't she didn't hear something, or she didn't see something, or oh, I didn't know that piece of evidence, or she'll deny not being aware of something so that she doesn't have to say what she really thinks, right? So I think same thing happened here with Ernesto. That's just my opinion. I think Infamous Sylvia knew from the beginning that Ernesto was guilty of sin. But now she has decided, because she saw some connection between the police reports and what the victim documented at the time against, I guess, what they found in the vehicle at the time that he was arrested, and then some information that she had from getting that exclusive information on her channel, and then something about some text messages that she had access to. And now she believes Ernesto's daughter. And she believes that Ernesto did this stuff to her daughter, to his daughter. And now she believes that when she went to the jail to go do all of them visits with Ernesto, she was looking in the face of the devil, right? And so, while infamous Sylvia is over on her channel breaking down, crying, asking for forgiveness and repenting and asking the Lord to forgive her, asking the people to forgive her, apologizing to all of her viewers, she decides that she's going to call Sonia Durham. Sonia. I think that's how you say it. Not Sonia, Sonia. So Sonia happens to be, there is some ambiguity about her being the side chick. What is it really? Because I heard one account where they said that Sonia only slept with Ernesto one time, and she didn't know he was married at the time that she slept with him. And then they just remained friends after that or whatever. And she's been there to be a support to him while he's going through all of this turmoil, because mostly everybody else have just left him by the wayside. That's one account that I've heard out narrative. And then the other narrative is just she's just the side chick of Ernesto, right? Whichever one it is, Sonia is a character in this story. And so Sonia and Sylvia was bosom buddies, right? And most of Sylvia was probably getting a whole lot of information from other places too, because she has connections over there in those counties. But she was getting some other inside information from Sonia, and also from her visits and talking to Nesto and stuff. And so Sylvia decides that she's going to call Sonia to get a live reaction on YouTube about Sylvia changing her mind. And they engage into this conversation, and it starts all of this commotion. You can tell by the end of the conversation, Sonya is like tuning Sylvia out. Cause in the back of my mind, in that little bubble, when somebody thinking but they not saying, I know Sonya was like, this is some fucking bullshit. This shit phony as hell. This shit been phony as hell from the fucking beginning. Right? And she says when she's talking to, so this the reason why I'm coming to you, because this show just show you how things flip and switch, right? Now Sonya is back talking to V. Lenore, who is another content creator over in the Ernesto sector, who believes that Ernesto did everything that they said that Ernesto did. And her and Sonya had a falling out early on, because after an interview that she had done with Sonya, and they had been going at it to the point where it was screaming matches and all kinds of stuff. Well, now Sonya had several phone calls with V. Lenore, because supposedly, I guess Sonya said some things about Sylvia that ended up making it forward after Sylvia changed her mind. Sylvia decided she was going to go on her members only and share some private information between her and Sonya. You know them people come and tell everything that they see in members only. So they spilled the beans. V. Lenore and I think Legacy Moon and Native, they've been talking about some of what was talked about in the members only. And one of the things had something to do with a conversation between Sylvia and Sonya about, Sylvia was saying something about her mom's experience, and Sonya shared something vaguely about her mother's experience. And that was released as part of the members only information in Sylvia's live. And then this caused this big blow up. So, listen, y'all, keep your eyes out, because Lucy is on the prowl. She is on the move, okay? And so I'm imagining that those numbers is about to skyrocket, because they are going to want to watch, because they know that it's about to be some exclusive information released now because of this now tense relationship and the severing of the relationship between Sonya Durham and Sylvia, infamous Sylvia. So I just wanted to keep y'all up to date on that, just in case y'all didn't know about that, because that's another messy ass thing that I be paying attention to, y'all. So the last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about before I get off of here is about the release of the autopsy for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. It was unalived, and they have arrested Anthony Burke. He is a singer. Good morning, Michelle. How you doing, boo? They arrested him for as being the one who murdered her, right? And so yesterday, I came to you guys yesterday morning. We talked about a little bit of the update, some more stuff that was talked about, some more things that I recollect and came to my mind. We discussed that. And I said yesterday morning that I anticipated that the autopsy was going to be released today because there is a hearing today. Now, in today's hearing, the rumor is that it is supposed to be the preliminary hearing. I told you guys that I did hear that. We heard that in the audio from court that Beth, I think her name is Beth Burke, is David's attorney. She must be the lead attorney over there on the defense side. She was the one speaking in court. So we have Beth Burke and we have Beth Silverman, right? Beth Silverman is the lead prosecutor. Beth Burke is David's defense attorney. So Beth Silverman was asking for the discovery. She wanted all of the discovery. This is when they were in court the other day at the arraignment. And she said she wanted a preliminary hearing to start and be scheduled for today, April 23rd, right? So that is anticipated that may possibly happen today. Now, after listening to some of the analysts, they are saying that they kind of think it's going to be a halt today. They said that they think that was just a power play move that Beth Burke made, and to try to, it was like a media thing, a media stunt. And they think that she's probably going to actually get in court today and say, Your Honor, after we reviewed this amount of the evidence, we need some more time. So can you schedule us for within the next 60 days, right? So for everybody who is anticipating that the preliminary hearing is going to start today, some of the analysts are saying maybe not, more than likely not. They don't think it's going to happen. They just think that was a power move on the behalf of the defense in order to relay to the public their client's innocence, right? So, but we are scheduled for a hearing today. But I said yesterday, because I knew that, I was like, okay, this autopsy report is going to be released sometime today. Yesterday. I said that yesterday. So then I did another little brief live because Mark Geragos had got on my damn nerves being on TMZ talking to that goddamn Harvey and Charles. And with their one-sided shit, I can't even say it's always pro-defense. I think TMZ is pro whoever's paying them. Whoever can pay them some money, whoever can pay for the promotion, that's who TMZ gonna support, right? And a lot of times we see Mark Geragos come on there and talk about the defense strategy because Mark Geragos is marketing his own self for his next case. That he's an ambulance chaser and he uses TMZ to be an ambulance chaser, right? So, he's always ready to represent the next scumbag, that's just Mark Geragos. So, I'm pretty sure he's willing to sign up for this one too. That maybe he can somehow get on the defense team as one of the attorneys, the strategist, the publicist, whatever. If not, at the least, he can get himself some inside information that he can come and push on TMZ. He's going to make that dollar any kind of way. Okay? So, that's Mark Geragos. And for anybody who is not familiar with Mark Geragos, just from him doing 2 Angry Men with Harvey Levin, he is also has been the attorney for Diddy for a very long time. A very long time. And his daughter, Teeny Geragos, was part of Diddy's legal team during his trial. Mark was on as an advisor because he was doing exactly what he's doing on TMZ now. So he couldn't be listed as one of the attorneys because then he couldn't have been doing what he was doing on TMZ. So he was listed as some type of strategist, advisor, or whatever. But Mark Geragos has been Diddy's one of his long-standing attorneys, right? So But he's been talking and discussing things about this case. So he has said something that got on my nerves. I did a little brief live about that. You guys could go like look at that real quick. That pissed me off. I'm about to talk a little bit more though about TMZ and how they are reporting this stuff from this autopsy, because that's what I want to talk about right now. So I want to talk to you guys about the autopsy report coming out. So the autopsy came out, and just like I told y'all in my little brief video I did yesterday, after I watched Joe Scott Morgan, he's from the podcast Body Bags. He's the creator of the podcast Body Bags. He is frequently on Nancy Grace, and he goes all over. I mean, he's in high demand to appear everywhere, but whether it's standard media or social media. He is mainstream media. I guess that's not standard mainstream media or social media. He is in demand everywhere because he is an expert in this field. And so Joe Scott Morgan was on, I think it was CR Connections or something. I can't remember exactly I can't remember exactly what it was, but I will find it and I'll post it on my wall for you guys on what the what he was on last night. He went on last night after the release of the autopsy report. But yesterday, when I came to talk to you guys before the release of the autopsy report, like briefly for those couple of minutes, I was telling you all that Joe had been on Nancy Grace from the night before. And in talking about anticipating the autopsy report coming out, he mentioned, because the question the TMZ was posing and trying to throw some ambiguity on was, how would the medical examiners be able to tell, because the body was dismembered, how would they be able to tell the difference between the blow that caused her death and then all of the other chopping up of her body, right? And so basically TMZ was trying to make it seem like, oh, this is going to be hard for the prosecution to convince a jury because she was dismembered. So how are you going to be able to look at the stab wounds and be able to tell like what was the cause of death? And anybody that watches criminal trials, we know that the cause of death is very important, right? So, because somebody could dispose of a body but not actually murder the person, but they could dispose of a body because they might be afraid that it might appear that they did something wrong, right? So there's so many reasons why the cause of death is important, right? So that's why TMZ wanted to cast this dispersion on the medical examiner's conclusions, or what their conclusions could be, when in the press conference the other day, when the DA said that it was by a stab wound, right, that was the cause of death. They wanted to create some confusion, TMZ, to the general public about, oh, well, how can they be sure of it? Her body was dismembered. How can you tell if that was actually how she died, right? And so Joe Scott Morgan gave us a treat. He gave us a treat on Nancy Grace even before the autopsy report came out, because he explained to us, and I had heard him do this before because I watched him on lots of cases. So this isn't, I've been watching Joe Scott Morgan for a very long time, right? So, and he provided some, one of the other cases where I really loved his expert opinion was in the Lori Vallow Daybell case, because it was really a lot of things that he said that helped us to understand the reports when they were being discussed in the preliminary hearings and then additionally at trial, right? So that's why I like to watch all of that ahead of time, because it helps me to understand and follow the testimony, right? So he gave us a treat when he let us know the way that the medical examiner or coroner will be able to tell what caused the death when you have a dismemberment, when the body was dismembered, and then you have the cause of death is a stab wound, right? Is because antemortem, which means before death, antemortem, when someone is stabbed, there will be hemorrhaging, meaning that the tissue surrounding the stab area will be greatly impacted because the person is still alive. But once the person is post-mortem, once they are dead, there is no more hemorrhaging. There is no damage to all of the surrounding tissue, right? And so this is how Joe Scott Morgan let us know we will be able to tell when this is what we want to listen for in a medical examiner's report to determine it was this the cause of death, right? So, um, So when the report comes out, and I had almost made this prediction to you guys, I said I lied to y'all not. I knew that the torso was going to be the site of the death. I just knew it, right? It was to me, he seemed like somebody that's where he's going, straight there, right? And because I think, and Joe talked about this last night. If you stab somebody in the torso, that's like the fastest way. That's the fastest way to kill somebody when you're stabbing somebody, just in case y'all didn't know. So it just, to me, I felt like that was going to be where it was, right? But I didn't say it on my live yesterday when I came to tell y'all what Joe said. But I was going to say to you guys, I bet you it was the torso. I bet you that's what it was. So the medical examiner's report confirmed that it was the torso. 2 stabs to the torso. So they say in one bag, they had in one of the body bags was her head and the torso. And then in the other body bag was all of the other parts. Now, all of the other parts, with the exception of 2 fingers, I think it was the middle and the pinky finger on the right hand, they were missing from all of the remains. Which shows you how crazy this is. Like, he didn't just like cut her up. You cut her head, cut her body, cut her legs. He went down to like cut, like, I mean, it was just like crazy. That's crazy. The whole thing is crazy, but that's crazy. And that's why I'm saying I am almost convinced this something had something to do with these nihilistic extremist groups that these kids be joining and be a part of on the internet. This shit sounds crazy. And Joe said last night, in his appearance last night, that he's always reviewing these kind of reports because this is what he does. This is his content. And so he was saying over the last couple of years, it has been an uptick, a major increase in dismemberment cases, right? And like I said, I think this has something to do with this culture and with the FBI saying that this is the number one terroristic threat right now, is these nihilistic extremist groups that are forming on the internet. And because these types of things are their content, I think this might be why we are seeing more of these cases occur. Right? I don't, but he said it last night, and I just thought about that. And what we have been talking about over here about these internet groups and why that might be, if it's some kind of connection, like it's crazy. So, what they found was, like I said, 2 fingers were missing from all of the remains. And I think what they said was it was the middle finger and the pinky finger on the right hand. The weird thing about that is Celeste had a tattoo. Her and David had matching tattoos. And on her index finger, I don't know if it was the left or the right, but that it was tattooed shh on it, right? That finger was still there. He didn't cut that one. He left it with the body. Left it on the hand, right? So, Joe was saying last night, that one of the, so on TMZ, let's go over to TMZ real quick with Harvey. Garagos wasn't on this particular segment. It was Charles, Harvey, and then 2 other people that he has on there. And they're talking about the release of the autopsy report. And like I said, and they always got to try to find some way to cloud the situation. And like I said, yes, you want to provide all the perspectives, but if you want to provide all of it, provide it all. Provide the alternative. This is something that I just think TMZ does not do a lot of the time. So, what Harvey was saying was that the report says may have been the cause of death. May have been the cause of death, right? And he was saying that that is something that the defense is going to jump in and take control of. The fact that it said it may have been the cause of death. And then he brings up some information from the first toxicology report that stated that methamphetamines and MDHD or whatever that is, that there was a potential that that was found in her system. And then there was a confirmatory test, though, that was inconclusive about the methamphetamines, I think, but it ruled out MDHD. So he was saying that these are some other things that the defense might try to hone in on in order to say, well, maybe that could have been the cause of death. But the toxicology reports confirmed that that was not the cause of death. And that's what I mean by how Harvey's report. Now, Harvey might get rid of them two other men that he had up there, not Charles, but them two other men, because they was kind of like throwing in there, like, well, Harvey, that's the first test said that, but then the second test confirmed that they was throwing all kinds of monkey wrenches in what Harvey was saying. And maybe they doing that on purpose. I don't know. Maybe that's like that devil's advocate thing that they doing. It's designed that way that Harvey pays the bad guy and puts out the bad theory, and then you got these. I don't know. If not, if we see them fired, we know why. Because they was kind of like throwing it back at Harvey. Like, Harvey, you have not acquainted yourself with these reports at all, right? Like, that's basically how they were talking to him based off of the stuff he was saying. So now I want to bounce back over to Joe last night, and when he's talking about this particular situation. So Joe speaks about it the truthful way and talks about the ruling out of the methamphetamines and the ruling out of the MHD or whatever it is. The ruling out of those things, right? So that they know that those were not the cause of death. Joe says this is where there can be some ambiguity. Joe said that some ambiguity can be because something was wrong with, when they found her remains and the organs and stuff started to liquefy, right? But something was wrong with her sockets, like her eye sockets or something. So the medical examiner couldn't get real good impressions on what was going on with her in her eyes. The reason he said that that's important is for petechiae. So petechiae is something that happens when somebody is like suffocated to death. Whether it's through strangulation or smothering or whatever, if they are suffocated to death, petechiae happens. And then that petechiae is what can let the medical examiner know that the cause of death was strangulation or suffocation based on the method would be dependent upon what other things are found with the body, right? And so because the eye sockets were completely damaged and couldn't be salvaged to be able to tell whether there was any petechiae, and because of the severing of the neck and then the deterioration of the body itself because of the state that they received it, what Joe is saying, that the reason why the medical examiner may be the cause of death in the report is because they could not rule out a suffocation, right? So he was saying that that's one thing based off of all of the things that he saw from the report that would say to him why they may be there. But Joe gave a strong case for why, with certainty, when that medical examiner is called to testify, that they will be able to justify that stabbing is the cause of death. And it is because her kidney and her livers were punctured and penetrated. And the way that Joe described the puncture wound and the penetration, he is saying that it would have killed her instant. It's the reason I told y'all the torso is the way to go. If something happened, somebody's attacking you, I ain't telling nobody to do none of that. I ain't telling nobody to do none of that on no regular circumstance. But if you're getting attacked and you carry a knife, that torso, you just stick and twist, and then you just keep it moving. It's going to be done. It's going to be over with, right? So Joe was saying that, right? So Joe is saying that the medical examiner can say almost with certainty. He's saying that the damage around the tissue, the damage in the area, the hemorrhaging, all of that from what took place at the site of those 2 stab wounds, this is how, even if, yeah, he couldn't rule out that it was in a suffocation, but based on what was going on in that torso area, and based on the fact that the findings were consistent with antemortem, that medical examiner got this sewn up in the box. And so then there were some other things that Joe discussed. He discussed that there was some markings that the medical examiner listed on the ribs, on the rib cage. And Joe was saying, I hope they preserved those ribs, because then, and see, this is where departments work together. Everything is interconnected, right? Because we know what we are seeing in the medical examiner's report, and that might not mean anything to us by itself, but the medical examiner and what they find and the things that they preserve is going to go somewhere else, because now it's going to become evidence. And he was saying that those ribs, they can take them, clean them up, preserve them, and send them over to the criminalist, right? And the criminalist will, because there are markings on those ribs from the stabbing, the criminalist will then take that into the firearm and tool in the tool marking lab, and they can try to identify what was actually the weapon that committed the crime. Because a lot of people think just because they don't locate a weapon, right, that they can't prove that a crime was committed. Well, they might not be able to locate a weapon, but they might be able to locate a receipt of a weapon. It might be somewhere on social media a picture of somebody with a weapon. And when they take those ribs that have those markings and they create the mold in order for them to try to identify those markings to determine what type of tool was used in the crime, and then they might have some other physical evidence, like I said, like a picture on social media with a particular kind of knife carrying, or a receipt and a video from somebody going to go purchase a particular tool from the store. That is also evidence that can connect them. But the criminalist, which is like a scientist that works in this firearm and tool marking lab, they would be the one to locate that. That's all they do is look into those kind of things. And I remember that because they did that in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. In the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, that's the one with the court mom. Hey, Jess V, how you doing? I'm talking about like some of the information from the autopsy report from Celeste yesterday. So in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, Tylee Ryan, Lori Vallow's biological daughter, the one that she unalived, she was dismembered as well, right? They did the same kind of thing. They got a criminalist involved, and they went into the tool marking lab in order for them to determine what type of tool was used to dismember her body. And so this is how stuff starts to come. That's why I said, like, for people who say, oh, it's no evidence, based off of all of the things that I heard, there is an abundance of evidence here that is probably connecting him to this crime. We have no idea what receipts, what surveillance footage, what social media images and photos, what was found in the house that they may have already looked into that connected all of these dots, because they are not going to say that at a press conference. They're not going to give all of that at the press conference. That is what is going to come out in trial. So I thought all of that was interesting last night. That's why I wanted to make sure I was able to hear Joe Scott Morgan break down the autopsy report, because I feel like he is the best. When he is breaking it down, He is giving us everything we need to look for so that when we get to the piece where the evidence is being um displayed, that we know what we are listening for. Because sometimes people don't know what they listening for because they haven't paid no attention to what happened during the preliminary phase, and they haven't paid any attention to nothing else going on, and they want to just jump into a trial and just start talking about things. And then they cast all of these dispersions on stuff because they have no clue of what's even being discussed. That's why you hear some of them come out sometimes and saying, "Oh, today was a boring day. Oh, today was only about the phone tracing, or the scientist was on there, or the doctor was talking, or it was just a psychiatrist." To me, those are the most interesting days of the trial because those things help to tie in all the pieces. And a lot of times, if you are following a trial from start to finish, those will be the most interesting parts because you will see how all of those dots then get connected one to the other, right? And so I thought that was interesting. I wanted to come out and share that and talk with you guys about that. Two of the things that they found, so they found a burn cage, and they found a saw. Now they said what they were able to determine is that those instruments were not used at all. So they were purchased, they were found on the premises where David lives, but they had not been used. So, but what they were, some of the commentators were saying is that they still can play to motive because it can be used, like it can be used as part of the thought process of, okay, how am I going to get rid of this body? Let me go purchase this contraption. Let me go purchase this item. Let me do this. The more things that they can show that you were contemplating in this crime, and then they have the actual crime, those things can be used towards premeditation, even if it wasn't used. So they said the burn cage wasn't used. That particular saw that they found was not used. But these are things that they said also can play the motive. So the other thing that Joe said last night was he was talking about how detailed this person had to be in order to dismember this body. Like Joe was saying, for him, somebody who is an expert in this field and somebody who has access to all the tools you can have access to, because he teaches classes for people to be able to be criminalists and do and be tool marking and firearm experts, right? So he has access in his classroom to all of the things he said that could dismember a body. But for somebody else to seek out and search that, it takes a lot of thought. And he said, and especially because of the areas and the places where her body was dismembered and how it was chopped down. So he was saying it was very amateurish, that he could tell by the report. It was very amateurish, but it took a lot of planning on the part of the person who did it, because how her body was dismembered was not an easy task. Um, that was, I think, like the last thing that I remember him saying about that autopsy report. But so today we are planning and anticipating that there will be a hearing. But like I said, some of the analysts believe that the defense is going to change course and decide that they want to wait, that they want more time to review this information before moving forward with the preliminary hearing. They believe this was just a strategy to show strength on the behalf of their client, and that today when they get in the courtroom, they're going to switch course. And so I know a lot of people think we're going to get some more information today, but I just want those that don't know to be prepared that today there might actually be nothing that happens in court. Because the defense might decide, no, we need more time to review the evidence. Can you schedule the preliminary? And give us the time to review this evidence. So that's what we have going on now. I think that's all I have to talk to you guys about today. I got a couple of things I need to do before I get out here for work, and then I'm going to get out and get to my appointment. I'm going to be keeping my eye on everything that's going on. So if anything worth talking about happens, and I'm sure it will, I may be back to talk to you guys. But if not, I will try to touch base with you all tomorrow. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for coming and talking to me today. Tiz, Just V, Miller, Michelle, thank y'all for coming in. It's always a pleasure. Y'all have a good day.